Welcome, Urban Action fans. As I promised, welcome to the eighth annual Urban Action Showcase and Expo. Uh, we're, 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 we're like water right now, guys. We're just adapting to the situation. But sometimes, situations become a blessing in disguise. I don't know if I would have ever had the amazing opportunity to see these incredible artists in person with their busy schedules. So I want to thank Warner Media, Warner Brothers, DC, the CW for putting this panel together for us. This is an incredible opportunity. Black superheroes matter, very important. Diversity and inclusion is very important. If we oppress one, we oppress all. It's important to have representation, especially heroic representation that reflects all of us. We should have to go no further than our mirror to see the hero within, because we need images. We need just as many images of one type of hero as another, because we want everyone to be empowered. I am so grateful and honored to introduce our esteemed guest. The first one I would like to introduce, who is appearing, I believe in 2021, but she'll correct me, as the new Batwoman, Miss Javicia Leslie, ladies and gentlemen. And her lovely dog is?
Judah.
Judah, that's my son's name.
Hey, look at that.
Next, I want to introduce from Stargirl, brand new series now on the CW. You guys need to check that out. She's gonna tell you who she plays, but Anjelika Washington, ladies and gentlemen. And then of course, Doom Patrol, Cyborg himself, Joivan, like Japan. Joivan. There you go.
There we go.
Joivan Wade. And of course, esteemed producer, director, you know him from Boomerang, House Party, Mr. Warrington Hudlin. Now, I'm going to hand the show over to Warrington. David Harewood is supposed to join us shortly, and whenever I see him, I will bring him in the conversation as well. But until then, you're not going to see my lovely face anymore. I'm going to allow Warrington to take over with these esteemed guests. And I want to, again, thank you guys so much.
Well, first of all, thank you, Demetrius. Thank you for this opportunity, and also for keeping this showcase alive for 8 consecutive years. I'm a festival producer as well as a film producer, so I know how difficult it is. So congratulations to you. But before we start the conversation, we are obligated to pay tribute to a real-life superhero, real-life Black superhero. Her name is Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. I am so psyched. I mean, when the announcement was made, outside my window, the horns were honking and people was banging pots and pans. So sometimes things that we thought were fantasies can come true. So today, this panel was let's make this panel dedicated to Kamala Harris. Fair enough?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Love
All right.
that.
Very good. Very good.
Love
Very
that.
good. So, in preparation for the panel, of course, I went to Google and did your Wikipedia page, and of course, it all the stuff about you. But I'm curious, in your own view, what is the thing in that page, or one thing that maybe may not be in the page that the people should know about you? Because I mean, the most critical thing that if there's any one thing, of course, you guys are very complex human beings, but what's the most compelling thing about you that all the viewers should know? Joivan.
For me, the most complex thing, I think that oftentimes when it comes to performance and actors, definitely my Wikipedia, it kind of really champions, your work as an actor, but they tend to leave out my work as an entrepreneur, as a community service, and as well as acting. I also own 6 companies, one of which is a multimedia company, a production company, a talent agency, and a platform in which allows for and advocates for diverse talent in creating and helping to take them from, whatever medium it might be, social media, YouTube, etc., to developing their shows and pushing them to television via the deals that we have with different TV networks. So yeah, I think that's one thing that's often left out for me. A lot of the time championing my acting work and my journey as an actor, but often failed to acknowledge my achievements as a producer and as an entrepreneur. So there's one of the books.
Is your family from the Caribbean?
They are, yeah, Jamaican.
Well, 6 jobs. It makes sense.
That's it.
Anjelika.
He actually kind of took exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say, I think often just in general, when it comes to Wikipedia pages, if you're an actor or if you're a musician, it just says you're that one singular thing. But yeah, I'm an actor, I'm a producer, I direct, I create as much as I can. So yeah, I was just going to say that I'm definitely more than just an actor.
But is this something that we got to focus on all those multiple things? What should we focus on? Or what did you leave out intentionally?
I never left anything out. I didn't make my Wikipedia page, so I don't even know how those things. Like, who does that? I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
I'm still confused as to how things end up on Wikipedia.
And also, it's very difficult to get things off. So there's some things on mine was wrong, but it's just we're just captive of the digital space.
Right. I know at first it said I was like born in Canada, and I was like, no, I'm from Bakersfield, California. Sorry, not that cool.
Yeah. Javicia.
I would say, weirdly, piggybacking off of Joivan and Anjelika, just not just Wikipedia. I think media in general, any type of way when you research us, it kind of puts us in a box and creates titles. And we're human, so we're so much more complex. And we have so much. We're so much more complex. We have so much more depth than a title. So yeah, like they said, it says that I'm an actor, but it doesn't include the fact that I'm also a director. It doesn't include the fact that I'm writing my first novel. It doesn't include the things that just make me, Javicia, experiencing life. You know what I mean? But that's how it is, because until someone tells you, or until someone says, oh, this is worth being paid attention to, it's not paid attention to, and it doesn't get any type of, attention, which is fine, because we're human and we're living our life regardless. But the fear of stuff like Wikipedia is that then everyone on the outside kind of like creates their judgment of you based off of what they see. So if I had to say anything outside of Wikipedia that can contribute to what defines me, it would just be that I'm an artist entirely, there's, I draw, I write, I direct, I dance, I'm a tap dancer. I'm a huge advocate for animals. I'm a huge Black power, Black fighting person. And anyone that knows me knows that. I try my best not to do that, but my lens and my filter is that. So I'm always kind of like checking, where you coming at with that? That just kind of feels a little off.
You grew up in what city?
I grew up in DC. So yeah.
Chocolate City. This makes
Chocolate
sense.
City. Yeah. No doubt.
That's why it always boggled my mind, the idea of what minority really is, because I don't come from a city where I'm the minority. So then when I moved to LA and they kept bringing up the fact that I'm the minority, I'm like, nah, where I'm from, I'm the majority. So this just does not make any logical sense.
Let me interrupt you by saying you're not minority. You're not minority at all. In fact, I was in New York City. I was on the mayor's advisory council, and he used the deputy mayor used the word minority in the meeting. I said, "Excuse me, sir, we have to stop right here." What's wrong? I said, "Well, in your office, do you have access to the Bureau of Statistics?" He said, "Of course we do." I said, "Fine." Well, you said minority. Now I'm Black. She's Latino. He's Asian, and my investigations say that we're 65% of New York City. So unless you're talking about yourself, I'm not a minority. I said, "Now, sir, I'm not being disrespectful. So please call the other office if I'm wrong." He said, "No, you're right. I said, "Okay, then we got that straight." So it's a psych for us. So we must reject it and not internalize it. And certainly on the planet Earth, we are hardly minorities. Exactly. And so therefore, it talks about our stories are very important and compelling to be told. And we are all privileged to have the skill set to tell them. But I want to I'm so impressed by the different hats you guys all you wear. So I'm going to ask you another question, which is, if you're here because of your big success as actors. Now, let me take it off. That's not an option anymore. What would be your next art form or business that you'll be totally satisfied with if you can no longer act?
I'll go.
For me,
go ahead.
Go on, Jay. You go. No, you go, ladies first.
So outside of, we've already listed directing and things like that. So I'll just say outside
anything,
of that
but
kind of
yeah, no, anything. You can include those other things too. Directing.
Well, for sure. Like, I want to continue to direct. I want to continue to tell stories. I think one of the bigger things about our voice is that as actors, we're limited to what someone creates for us. But as directors, as writers, as producers, we start to be the ones that tell the story that impacts the perspective of our stories. And not just as a Black person, but as a woman, I'm a military brat. So that's a story. You know what I mean? Like all of those stories matter because they represent something or someone. But one of my other goals, or one of the other things that I'm going to do, is I want my own talk show. I've always wanted my own talk show. I've looked at, when I was growing up, I would watch Oprah and literally say,
is she your favorite?
You know what's interesting? Like, I love Oprah. Like, the doors that she opened and the path that she created for us, I have nothing but respect for her. But I don't want
your favorite is you
so you
my
know
question.
What's interesting is I love the idea of like red table talk. I love the idea that you just come into a room and you just have this real conversation.
Yeah.
And I think it creates such a safe haven for the artists that come there to reveal themselves, because they know that there's nothing, not that Oprah did that, but I think that because her show was so mega and she had a live audience, there's just, you're going to take away what you take away regardless. But on the Red Table Talk, I felt like they did an amazing job protecting their guests.
And they do it with almost no overhead. I mean, it's really just, just that one set is really something super return on your investment.
Exactly.
Anjelika, you were nodding your head the whole time. So it's something you have in your mind. That would be your second choice. What would it be?
Yeah, when I was younger, I had like a YouTube talk show. So that's why I'm like giggling, because I'm like, oh my gosh, so similar. But yeah, so I love hosting, but I'm pretty sure I would probably be producing for me. I have really great organizational skills when it comes to other people and everyone else's life. I'm like really great at organizing, really great at making sure things that people need to get done. I don't really consider myself like type A in my own life, but when it's a job, like when it's things that need to get done, I just do it. I check things off the list. I get them done. I line them up. I stay on time. I'm great at time management. When it comes to other people and work with me, I'm like,
was that a segue to David?
I'm very sorry.
I'm teasing you with your permission. I'm just teasing you because she was talking. I was from her remark. So what we've done? No, listen, brother. It's all family. It's all family. And the conversation's off to a good start. We've all talked about our experiences and what's interesting. We talk about what's in your Wikipedia bio. That may not be what may have been admitted, or what's the most important thing in there that we should focus on.
I'm getting a little buried.
Oh, shall I repeat it?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay. We were saying that in our Wikipedia bios, it gives a whole range of our experiences and our life journeys. But is there one thing in particular that the reader should focus on? Because right now you read it, it's all the same. But what's the thing that we should be underlined on in all caps?
In our own Wikipedia bio?
Yes, yours. Yes.
Hi, David.
Hello, how are you, everybody? How are you, Javicia? How are you, Joivan? Nice to see everybody. I'm sorry.
And Joivan, you have not escaped. I'm coming back to you. So don't get comfortable over there, man. In fact, I may give you time to think about it while you think about what's the one thing you would do if you could not be the actor that you are today.
For me, it would be. It would have to be.
All these, you want the job, this job. You got 10 jobs to think.
You know what it is? Yeah, there's a few different things because I go to the direct and I go to the producing, writing. But for me, it would actually be owning and creating an OTT platform, a platform
Yes,
you know,
sir.
just like what we have out there, our
Excellent.
Netflixes, our Hulus, etc. But for me, it's I've always been, you know, championing talent and trying to help, you know, publicize and push them into, you know, the doors and allow our stories to be seen when we're told we're niche. And I've constantly had a back and forth, whether it be, you know, in the UK or even in the US at some networks where we're told that our stories as Black stories are niche. And I'm like, well, if you can relate to a fish in Finding Nemo, how can you not relate to a Black story? You know what I mean? At least we are all human. And so I'm really passionate about creating opportunity. And so for me, it would be, and you know, something that I am doing, but I will be doing full time, is creating an OTT platform for our diverse storytellers to be able to create and push the stories in which everyone knows and loves, but we don't get the opportunity to actually have a fighting chance at publicizing or getting the money behind or getting the push behind to have it see the masses. So yeah, and I feel like that's all encompassing. It encompasses the producing, the directing,
absolutely.
You know, but yeah, that's the kind of be all and end all, because I'm very big on ownership.
In success, you'll make a lot more money.
100%.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
it's like, and I worked with Eddie Murphy, and then one day he was on the set, and he opened an envelope, and was look at this, and it's a huge check. I said, wow, you know, I said, yeah, man, that's a big check, but you know, brother, if they had paid you in stock rather than that check, you know, because if you think of how much you have made Paramount over the years versus that check they wrote you, you may not get your value. He's like, what do you mean? I said, no, brother, you think about that. So I feel you on that one. You know, ownership and dealing direct to consumer, OTT, is a huge way to go. Now, David, we gave you time to think about it, brother. So you gotta come on with it now. I gave you a break to prepare yourself.
Oh no, I'm just really sorry. You keep breaking up, so I can't quite hear. I couldn't quite hear. I've got a very bad connection here. That's why.
Yeah. Okay.
Shoot away. Ask me anything you want.
Okay. So, now, are you in LA?
No, I'm in Vancouver.
Vancouver. Okay. We're gonna blame it on Canada then.
You know?
Okay.
Hey, don't do that.
Oh, well, hold on. Oh, what's your connection?
I'm in Vancouver. He just got bad service.
Okay.
We're in the same town. So yeah, but I just I don't know, for some reason in this apartment I'm getting a bad connection on this 5-way conversation. So I apologize.
No worries. We know all of you have talked about storytelling, and it strikes me that playing a superhero and superhero storylines, in many ways, are they more liberating, or is there a possibility in those stories to talk about things probably you wouldn't maybe not do it in conventional narrative format? Am I making this up? Or does that?
No, I think for sure. Sometimes I'm in the scene and I'm like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. And then you have to keep reminding me, Javicia, it's superhero. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, how did that all of a sudden end up here? Like, so there is this idea when you're playing these superhero characters that you are superhuman, and you have to remind yourself that all the time to help really the story come to life. Like, you really have to have an imagination as a superhero to bring everything up to play and also ground it. Like, I got so welcomed by the DC community, but one of the actors that I was specifically welcomed really warmly by was Grant Gustin, who plays the Flash. And I had never really watched the show other than a few episodes that my friends were guest starring in. And so since I've been here, I've been basically binging it on Netflix. And it amazes me how much creativity and imagination you have to bring things, because when we're on set, there's no real fire, or there's no real this, there's no real that, you know what I mean? So we have to act like it is and truly believe like it is and play into that circumstance. And it's so much fun.
So all you guys are really young. So had you read these comic books before?
Yeah, for me, I definitely had. I read, I was a big comic book geek growing up across the universes of DC, of Marvel, and fell in love with comics, fell in love with comic books. And even as an actor, it was a dream of mine too. You know, I want to play a superhero. I used to grow up watching these TV shows, and then, you know, you start to watch these movies and you tie them back to the comic books, and you're like, that is, for me anyway, was the the best version of a human being was a superhero. Was you know, I looked at it as a human in their full potential.
But growing up,
sorry,
which one resonated with you?
To be honest, it was actually, ironically, it was Teen Titans. I always resonated very highly with Teen Titans, and when it came to the 2000 evolution of Teen Titans, and you know, the Kerry Payton version, that was all I watched growing up. And so, ironically, being in a position now where I'm playing the character in which I grew up with and fell in love with, you know, from the Titan comics to the Cyborg Reborn to all of that whole world. And I really kind of attached myself to a lot of the black superheroes, you know, going back to Miles Morales, as Black Spider-Man, and these heroes, Static Shock, these heroes in which really resonated with me because I could identify myself with these characters and aspired to one day play one of these characters. So
you guys may have met up. My brother writes comic books in addition to doing movies and TV, and I take credit because I, who's much older than him and all of you guys. In fact, I remember when comics were 5 cents. Can you believe it?
Wow.
And I saw, and to this day I regret this. I was in the store, and it was a thing called Spider-Man. It was issue #1. I said, I don't know if I should get to this one. You know, if I had got that one, but unfortunately I got all the ones that followed. So I left it to my brother, and I think that's part of why he became a comic book writer. In fact, in Black Panther, thinking the name, who's the young woman who's Black Panther's sister?
Letitia Wright.
Letitia.
He created that character. He created that character in the comic book. She didn't exist before that. So he's really a comic book guy. But I take full credit because I gave him all my books. So, I interrupt you? No? Okay. So, you know, I hear what you're saying about you have to spend this fantasy in comics, but there's also there's many times fantasy is opportunity for what they call sociological science fiction, in which you use a situation that's outside of reality to talk about reality. So that's another thing that I'm wondering in these scripts you've been seeing. Have there been those opportunities?
Yes, for me, for sure. Since I play Beth Chapel, Dr. Midnight, which is a character from like the 40s, such a long time ago. And then obviously there's a newer version of Dr. Midnight in the comics, which is the Black female version, which is me, except I'm the high school version of her. Anyway, and so it's been really great, especially the scripts I've been able to see this season 2, we're currently filming right now. And there's a lot of overlap with what we're currently seeing in the world, which I'm very excited about. I think, especially because Dr. Midnight, you know, at that time, it wouldn't have really been appropriate. So we get to explore a little bit of what it's like for Beth Chapel to think about how the original Dr. Midnight would view her. So I'm really excited about that. And so, yeah, I mean, we'll see if we get Chuck back, but at least she's dreaming about it.
So David, was there any?
No,
go ahead.
We had a very political season 3, and I thought it was one of our best seasons because it was very relatable. But I think actually the people upstairs, I don't think Peter Roth and the people upstairs were perhaps upset with it because it seemed to draw parallels with Trump supporters and America. But it was very powerful. It led to some very, very sort of kind of energized scenes, and there was a goodie and a baddie, the very defined roles. But I felt it made it much more powerful.
Yeah.
But I think it was we were quickly kind of told to drop the politics the following season.
Oh man.
And we're back to baddies and you know, and it's ethereal creatures and witches, which kind of, you know, we all preferred the more gritty, realistic.
Yeah. That's disappointing because I work with Peter Roth. I used to have a deal at a TV deal with Fox, and he ran Fox, and so I'm sorry to hear that. But what I am pleased to know, as you know, he's gone to retirement, and he's been replaced by an African American woman, Jenny Dungy.
Yes, I
So
heard that.
that's
I heard.
really, it's exciting. I know her too, and she's fantastic. So I'm hoping that those kinds of storylines will be liberated now. At minimum, she will have some kind of emotional, like, relation to those kinds of stories.
Yeah.
Because as you know, no matter how good you guys are in front of the camera, the people behind the camera, do okay the scripts.
Right.
Until you do like Joivan and becomes a producer, executive producer, writer, director, and star. I know it's coming.
One day, 100%.
I'm just putting some water on that seed. It's already there.
I appreciate that. I'm taking that in. I'm manifesting as we speak.
So there's I don't know why this happens to me all the time. There's a black African American woman science fiction writer. She wrote things like Wild Seed, and I can see her face. She just passed away recently, but she is a person who really just opened doors. And oftentimes in literature, we can reach in and view things that are pop culture with that kind of sociological and political resonance. And so nobody remembers her name, and I'm blanking this woman's name. She's super famous.
She said Octavia Butler.
Octavia.
But he just
Butler. Yes. I even met her one time. This woman, her work is stunningly brilliant work. And so, and different people have tried to get the rights to make that, but I just know that there's a whole body of work to draw upon. So working in the superhero genre or the sci-fi genre gives you this great latitude to talk about reality, even though you're into a fantasy world. Now, David, this is probably the least serious question I asked in this hour, but I just got to get it out, man. You play a character who's green and you're black. So, was that a discussion at some point?
Part-time green man.
No, part-time green man.
I didn't originally audition to play Jean Jones.
Okay.
I auditioned to play. I was just supposed to play Henshaw, who was just the head of the DEO. That was going to be my role and trajectory through the show. Mm-hmm. And Jeff Johns was watching me film a scene in the pilot, and he turned to Andrew Kreitzberg and said, "Martian Manhunter," and they kind of looked at each other and went, "It's a great idea." So after the pilot was done and shot, I got a phone call from saying they're going to change your character, and I was like, "What?" I just signed on for 7 years. And now I'm playing somebody else. So I was a little worried, and then I kind of
make them pay you for both. You signed a contract. Come on.
I wasn't familiar with the character because I'm Marvel comics growing up. I was into the Incredible Hulk and
you can't do that. That's a DC.
I know.
This is DC sponsored project.
It's bad, but so I had to kind of and read Andrew Gaynone's comic books to read, and also gave me a little model of the Martian Manhunter.
Yeah,
I kind of panicked and thought I was going to be playing Shrek for the next. I didn't know whether they were going to be doing makeup, whether they were going to be doing. I had no idea. So it was then a discussion about the CGI, but it's been wonderful. It's been great to get to know the character. And he is such a fantastic character. He is a fantastic character.
Yeah.
He became black in 1965, which was around the time of the civil rights. I think DC DC made him a black character around that time. I think it was a stroke of genius. It really was a stroke of genius. Because power in this black man who doesn't necessarily throw it around. He speaks volume. He's one in the universe, but he doesn't need to wear an S on his chest. He's. I just find him.
Well, see, remember the S was already taken, so he didn't have much choices in that. You guys are not laughing at none of my jokes. I don't. I'm about to quit. You know. Thank you, Anjelika. Thank you. Maybe it's a sound delay. I don't know. I'm doing my best to be funny.
You're doing great.
So as actors, I know what kind of thing. So you're doing. You guys have great opportunities, and you're doing great jobs playing superheroes. Okay. Now, but life is long. So where in the ideal world will you be? What kind of actor would you? What kind of characters is the other? Now, what you're doing is great. I'm not trying to, but what is the other thing that you would love to play?
Go on, Anjelika. You look like you was going to jump in there.
Oh, yeah, she came in ready. She was like, yeah, let's do it.
I was about to be like, well, it's funny because before Stargirl, everything that I had pretty much done outside of a couple guest stars was all like a lot of dark drama, really gritty, darker stuff. And so my first pilot actually was like a really dark comedy for Amazon. And I thought that originally I was like, my breakout role or my first series that like takes off is going to be crazy. But I literally was like, I'm going to play like a teenage prostitute. Like it's going to be something so dark and like so deep. And it's not. I'm Beth Chappell and it's really great. And she is a very intelligent, really bubbly, happy girl, part of the Justice Society of America. But I do really want to get back to some of that. I think that stuff is really fun. But yeah, I feel like I have, I'm sure like everyone else, I feel like there's a lot of windows that's open. I don't think we're in a time anymore where like actors can only do drama or only do comedy. I feel like we're in a lot more of an open time where people are open to seeing people do more than one genre and they want to see it and they want to see kind of like what you have in your wheelhouse and like what else you can do. I really, from Stargirl, I'm loving like this super hopeful, positive energy, like lighthearted, fun stuff. I definitely notice I'm less drained at the end of the day, getting to be Beth Chappell because she's just like happy and excited all the time. So I'm definitely, I love this, but I do also really want to get back to some of like the really dark, gritty stuff, especially because a lot of the stuff I did before wasn't really that popular. So people didn't really get to see me do it.
I hear. We're going to actually get some questions from the fans, but I just underline what you're saying. When an artist gets a chance to play multiple personas, I mean, for example, I'm a huge Cary Grant fan. I love. Do you remember His Girl Friday? I mean, he's a leading man, but he is unbelievably funny in that movie, and so. You're an artist, so you should be able to play a whole menu of roles and opportunities, and find which one gives you and that's also script. So yes. I feel you. I'm just basically saying, yeah, I feel you on that. Okay, so okay, we're gonna ask some. We open. You have a suggested question? Please log them in, and. Joivan, did you want to
to jump in on that?
Yeah. Well, actually, no. Here we go. You're muted.
Leslie Fry from
Leslie.
Apple TV. Go ahead, Leslie.
Okay, from Apple TV.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming this evening. We're so excited to see you here at the Bit and Apple TV. I have a question. What do you feel, your greatest responsibility as a Black actor, director? What do you feel is the greatest responsibility? What is the greatest message that you feel that you need to relay to people?
Who wants that? Who wants to take it first?
I can go first. I think one of the things that I've noticed when I watched Black content that wasn't produced and directed by Black people was that it felt like they were like, I felt the characters were very stereotyped. And in a space where our Blackness was always the factor, the deciding factor throughout the storyline. When in my life, you know, like I said, I'm from DC, like that's not what we think about every day. We get up, we take a shower, and we go throughout our day, and our day is our day. Are we impacted by being Black? Yes, of course we are. But it's not because we are Black, it's not our constant mindset. And so then when I see stories being created and directed and developed by Black storytellers, it feels like we get to just see everyday life of Black people. You get to see Black police officers, which are like really rare in Black stories that are written and directed by other colors, because they think that we have this idea where we're just like, you know, F the police. And that's not necessarily what we're saying. What we're saying is that the system needs to be changed. What we're saying is that the system is not built for us. What we're saying is that the same people that were protecting the plantations are now trying to protect us, and it doesn't calculate and it doesn't add up.
That's right.
And that needs to be addressed. So my responsibility as a Black actor, my responsibility as a Black content creator is to show just honestly our everyday lives, that we can just be as human as everyone else, but we can also be as dynamic and as imaginative and being, you know, we're playing superheroes. Like Joivan is Cyborg. Like that's not a human being when you think of it in an idea. It's something that's so creative and it's so imaginative, and we should be able to play these imaginative roles. And I always would get, when I first got Batwoman, one of the comments that I would get a lot would be, why couldn't they just create a new Black superhero? And I understand that. And I do believe that we should still continue to lead with that innovation and that creativity, that we can start something now that then can go generations on. However, we have all fallen in love with characters throughout our lives. Throughout my 33 years, I have fallen in love with characters. And I love to use Yara Shahidi as an example, because I love Tinkerbell. And why not have a Black Tinkerbell? Why do I have to separate myself from things? When we were kids, this is all we knew. We didn't get the Black stories in the capacity that we're getting them now. So Tinkerbell was a part of my childhood. Cinderella was a part of my childhood. So when Brandy became Cinderella, it was like, oh my goodness, wait, what? Like it now gave a story that I have been told my entire life a totally different, it gave it a totally different meaning for me. And it meant that I could be Cinderella, you know? It stopped separating me from the story. And so it's the same with Tinkerbell, and I feel like it's the same with the Batwoman. Like a lot of us have grown up on Batwoman for years, and now she's Black, and now women that love the character, no matter what the character's race was, can now identify with the character based off of the fact that her skin is, you know, the character looks like her.
The one I'm waiting on though is for the Black Tarzan.
You know, you should create it.
Joivan, you got my joke. See, me and Joivan, we're here. I was like, that was a joke.
Yeah.
That was a joke.
Meanwhile,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was over here like, you should create it. Yeah.
Right. But
I think it's really important from my perspective, being in a position where we actually have just the opportunity to represent. I think that, you know, we've grown up and we understand that the media is so much our narrative. The media is what dictates what we feel, what we think, how we see, what we perceive. And so we have a responsibility socially, knowing that, you know, growing up and living and being from the UK and then coming here, and conversations in which I have with a lot of my friends from the US, just based on the lack of knowledge, the lack of, you know, the fact that the media has portrayed a Brit in a certain way. Like I was gobsmacked when I actually, you know, had conversations with some of my friends in which are genuinely educated, but the first time that they actually had contact or really kind of could grasp, oh, when was the first time that you actually came into contact with a Black British person? They're like, to be real with you, Idris Elba. And I'm like, well, how is that? How does that work?
Yeah.
We didn't actually watch or get any content in which showed us that there were just regular Black people just like us in the UK. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So clearly,
but
media.
that person you were talking to was not from New York, though. You can be assured of that.
Say that again. Not from where?
Not from New York City.
No, he actually was from New York City.
What?
He actually, yes, he
Well,
actually
now,
is.
okay,
From
how
New-
about
I'm
that?
not-
Not from Brooklyn. Not from Brooklyn then.
He actually is from Brooklyn, and I'm not even. Yes,
You
you're
found,
actually-
man, you found a unicorn, man.
Yo,
I don't know how
he's
you found this guy.
Literally, this is one of my co-stars on one of my projects. So
Okay,
you know, like
all right.
just having that, and I said, nah, no way. And I actually went around and we had this whole test
Yeah,
where
okay.
a bunch of my friends, and I asked them, was this your first experience? And then genuinely, they're like, well, the media was the only time in which we actually got that. And so if there's no Black Brits that they would see in the media before the realm of Idris, and at that point they didn't even know he was British because he was in The Wire. So
Well, you
it's
know
like,
what? But you raised a question, and I was not going to bring it up, but since you brought it up, I'm gonna go with it. There's and actually this is the guys versus the girls now. Okay, so this is what this is about. There's been a African American resentment. You know where I'm going with this, right? There's been an African American resentment against
Oh,
the Brits coming and taking these great roles. I'm saying no, they're great actors, and therefore they make the roles great. But please, as two American women, I would like for you to comment on that dynamic, this tension between Black Americans and Black Brits. Oh, David, jump in. David, you go first now. You don't vote y'all. You got to go first. Come on, brother. You kick it off.
No, it is a hot topic, and I stepped into it a little bit foolishly because it was a surprise when Samuel first made the comments.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of Brits surprised when he first said that, and I think a lot of us were a little bit upset by it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I tried to write a piece in the paper about the difference, and it was a bit naive because I think a few people picked up on it and really then went after things seems to make the whole thing kind of worse. The Allen said really best for me in that I think the reason why people have a problem with it or can have a problem with it is because we all have a specificity to our pain. And I think Black Americans have a specificity to their experience. And I think sometimes when they see a performance which perhaps isn't of that experience, I think sometimes
We read it.
Have a reaction to it. So in imposters, as it were, I've been called somatically Black, by people on Twitter and I'm Black in mind only, whatever that means. But when so people will say I'm stealing an American role or I'm robbing an American of I'm an actor, so I'm playing a character, and that's how I approach it. And I don't see anything further or beyond that. But I understand it when Debbie said there's a specificity to their pain, and I would encourage.
Okay, let me. Okay,
can I just jump in?
Hold on. I won't. Point. American. Then we come back to the Brit side. Let Americans step up. But let's go first.
I feel like one, I hate that there's just something else dividing us as Black people, right? It doesn't matter where we're from, we're Black.
Right. That's right.
And this world does such a great job putting us against ourselves.
That's right.
So the reason why that ends up happening, it's like the an animal in the corner. Like sometimes as Black Americans, we feel like, damn, are we ever enough for you? And then you create these Black American roles.
Right.
To the point that the guy's from Georgia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then you cast someone that isn't a Black American. And as an actor, you don't have to be from a certain place to play a role. Like I'm not from London, and I would love to play a role that has an accent that, like, I'm way more expansive than just being a girl from Maryland. So that I'm not saying that at all. But I do think,
give us the tease. Give us the tease.
No, Joanne with no.
I want to hear this other accent.
No.
Oh,
but what I'm saying is, I do feel like one of the issues that a lot of Black American actors feel like is like we're just never enough. But I think that's because we are comparing ourselves to the expectations of people that we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to. We're,
Well,
you know,
Joivan's about to bite his lip off, so he's ready to get back in.
No. But what I'm saying is that we're not enough. We're not enough maybe in another person's world, but we are enough in our own world. And it just kind of like, it just needs to be reminded that we can create the content that we're enough in. We can produce, we can direct, and we can act in our content that we're enough in.
I'm with you. And Anjelika, hold on, because Joivan's got the stage now.
All right, go ahead.
My perspective would be, I've had many of these conversations and I'm still yet to put myself in the position. The reason being is because we are told, okay, you know, all right, let's go back and let's look at Dan Kaluuya, right, and Get Out, and him playing an African American in a story, and then, you know, of recent the Judas movie, right? And so he's not an African American and therefore hasn't experienced what African Americans have experienced, and therefore, so there's one conversation when it comes to, you know, being Black, and the fact that, you know, there is a common consensus that as Black people from Britain, we don't experience racism, we haven't experienced racism, you know, in terms of our ancestors being enslaved, etc., etc. That's one whole thing, right? And I'm not even going to get into the argument. The only argument I'm going to get into,
that's not even true, but go on.
Exactly. And so that's how I'm parking that. If we go there, the surface is the fact that it doesn't matter. The reason why it doesn't matter is because you are an actor. And so with that argument of not being able to play an African American because you are Black British, tells you that, okay, well, you cannot play a doctor if you have not experienced being a doctor. You cannot play a taxi driver if you have not, because long and short of it is that you haven't experienced what a Black African American has experienced, and therefore you don't have the tools in order to be able to play that role. That's what research is for. That's why we are actors, because we dig into and understand the character, the mindset, the background. Our job is to do so.
And Anjelika is nodding her head. That's your cue to jump in there.
Yeah, I agree with you on so many levels. I think we're actors, and that's the whole dang point, right? Like, we're actors. We should be able to play people from different places. And that's also the dream. That's like what we do. We don't want to be ourselves all the time. That's why we're actors. However, I do, I'm like, however.
I was waiting for that, however.
I would say I sit a little bit in the middle. I'm usually in my viewpoints one side or the other, but in this, I'm in the middle. Because, well, first of all, let me ask you this. How many or how easy is it for Black Americans to get jobs in the UK playing Black UK people? Like, how often is that? And how easy is that? Right.
Well,
okay. So.
Okay. Was that a question or?
Yeah, no,
I think it was,
a real
yeah.
question. Like, how often are people hiring Black American actors in the UK to work? Or is that even very easy opportunity? Because I wouldn't know, because I've never gone there to try to be an actor, but so here's my opportunity to ask you what that experience is like if you were a Black American going there.
As a Black American, so I think there's on 2 points you have to address, which is, first and foremost, a lot of us Black Brits come to the US and come to LA or New York, whatever, because there is more opportunities for us as Black Brits. We suffer with not getting enough roles. We play hoodie number 1, number 2, and number 3 in the UK, and very, very lucky if we get landed a role in a sci-fi project like Doctor Who or something in which allows you to be, you know, not the stereotype. So we come here seeking and seeking, you know, opportunities in which we get a vast majority of in the US. There is not as much of a industry, or the industry is not as big, hence even the name Hollywood, in the UK as there is in the US. So naturally, there is not as many African Americans traveling to the UK to play those roles, because as an actor, our dream is to play on the biggest stages possible, and that just happens to be Hollywood. Therefore, not many do go. The ones that do go, that have the opportunity to, you know, fly that flag, if they have a really, really strong British accent, then there is no reason as to, I have a couple of friends in which are African American, in which have worked in the UK as British characters, based on the fact that they can do a compelling, you wouldn't know that they are American British accents, in which is not very common at all. I do struggle to find.
But that's what Javicia said earlier, that she had that range.
Well, I'm not from there, so.
Wait, what were you saying, Anjelika?
I was gonna say, I feel like I have been tricked many, many times by Black Americans who are doing British accents, but I'm not from there. So I guess I wouldn't be able to tell you what's most authentic, but like, you fooled me. But I mean, they're not trying to fool me, right? They're trying to fool people who live there, who watch these
Right.
shows, who live there. So at the end of the day, there's not that. But here's my my full done opinion. I think that I agree, we're actors, and I think we should all be able to do those things. But I do think, like, I've auditioned for roles where it's like they're looking for a Black woman, and the character is like a first generation American Jamaican family, right? So she doesn't have a Jamaican accent, but that's her family's nationality, right? But then they're like, oh, but must be real Jamaican in America, right? So I feel like it goes both ways, because we as Black American actors can't audition sometimes for things if we're not a specific ethnicity. Like, I don't know if I'm Jamaican or not, right? Like I'm just American, I'm just Black. So it's a little different for me. Like my family, my last name is Washington. My ancestry is literally slaves from George Washington, the first president of the United States. So for me, I'm not necessarily, I don't know if I'm Jamaican, I don't know if I'm Nigerian, I don't know if I'm whatever, right? But there's so many opportunities to play these other characters that are these other roles, because Black people are from so many other countries. But then in America, they often want the real thing, right? And I understand that. However, then they say, oh, it's fine, we'll do a show, which I love, by the way, and I have friends on this show, but we'll do a show called All American, and the lead is not American. He's a phenomenal actor. I think he does a great job on that show. But I have seen a lot of people have like have like a problem with that, and I don't necessarily have a problem with it, because I think he's a great actor and I think the show's great and I've watched every episode. But I'm just saying I understand their perspective, because I do also think there are amazing Black American actors.
There's some
I think
people
there's
the people in the
brilliant
chat
Black
who
American actors as
want to
well.
jump into this conversation. So there's someone from the chat box is jumping into this. We don't stir it up. Who's jumping into this?
I just think we're all so talented.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
I get you.
I'm just trying to make this thing. This could be an exciting panel. That's all. I think
I think
I stirred it up.
I think it already is. You have some amazing panelists, and it's interesting because I'm growing just from this conversation, because hearing Joivan's perspective wasn't a perspective that I had heard before, you know? So I think it's powerful, and I'm sure there's plenty of people that are watching this that are hearing an American actor and a Brit actor talk, and they're learning from it. So
in fact, one of them, and Jordan, you just came
how you guys
on.
doing?
All right, jump in here, man.
How you guys doing? My name is Jordan Khan. I run a media page called Black Action Stars. It pretty much just highlights the accomplishments of Black martial artists and action actors, directors within the martial arts world. It's great to meet you all and see you all.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Do you allow Black Brits on your page?
I'm sorry.
I hope so.
We're not allowed in.
No.
Question.
Yeah, I look for opportunities, man.
Jordan, what's your question to the audience?
Yes.
Man, so I have so many questions. First of all, Javicia, hello. Such a pleasure to see you. We actually crowned you our Black Beauty of the Month this past month of October, and we're really proud of this new Batwoman role.
Does it fold out?
Does it fold out? Digital right now. It's digital right now, but
all right. So
you might go to.
People got excited when you I said, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, but no problem. I mean, I don't want to interrupt on the conversation. You guys had a flow going on. You know what? I can kind of go off what you guys are going.
All right. We get back to you in that case.
Okay.
Now let me ask you a question. All of us as artists have mentors, and so I'm wondering, is there an actor, and maybe sometimes the mentor is direct, hands-on in your life, giving you advice and direction, but sometimes simply their body work has inspired you. So please, would you, for example, I started off, one of my mentors is a man named Melvin Van Peebles. Did a film called Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song. You may have never heard of it, but it's a very important, pivotal movie. It was a movie that really opened the existence of Black Hollywood. So what actor has influenced you either directly or through the work has inspired you?
I can speak first.
Please.
I have so many influences. I think people's body of work, and then also what they do outside of their work inspires me too.
Okay.
I love, like, Reese Witherspoon. I look up to her and all that she's creating with Kerry Washington. I think they're a great duo together. Of course, I love, like Viola. There's like so many people we all love. Alyssa Milano, I love that she's also an activist and an actress and doing a lot on the political level. But I have a personal mentor who I love, and I'm also very inspired by her work as well. Got to see her on Broadway, and that is Dawn Lewis. From A Different World, Hanging with Mr. Cooper. She played my mom in the very first pilot I ever booked. I had 0 credits before that, never even like a co-star, nothing before. I just like happened to book that. And she has mentored me the entire way. She's a phone call away. I love her. I can call her for anything.
She's just the best. Yes, she's a great human being.
Great.
Oh, who wants to speak next?
I'll go.
Okay.
So I'll kind of do like what Anjelika did with like the broad ones, right? Like the ones that I don't actually have direct communication with. Okay. And so I'm hugely influenced by Debbie Allen, not only as an actress, but as a director, as a producer, as a person of her time, to be able to do the things that she's done. And just, I've met her several times and her energy is amazing. I'm also very influenced and affected by Kerry Washington, because I feel like literally in generation as actors, she's like my big sister as an actor, and to watch what she's done with her career, and to get into the also directing and producing, which is really important for me, to watch her path with that has been major. And then I would say a hands-on mentor that I've had is Yvette Nicole Brown. She cast me in Always a Bridesmaid, but then became honestly like a mentor and big sister to me, to the point that there's been auditions where I'll send to her, comedy auditions, because she's a comedy like legend. Comedy auditions, I'm like, Yvette, I don't even understand what they want from this. And she's helped me to break it down so that I can deliver some of my best performances. She's also been one of my biggest cheerleaders and biggest heroes at the same time. So
that's wonderful.
Definitely Yvette.
Wonderful. Okay. David? Oh no.
Go on, Dave.
Jovan, go ahead.
Jovi, go ahead.
I have a few. I'm very inspired by the British actors in which have come before me, in which have been able to cross over many of my peers, and performers in which are in the UK. A big dream of ours is to be able to come and work in the US, and without seeing our peers do that before us, we wouldn't have the opportunity to do that, like the Idris, Chiwetel, even David, people in which have come and been able to cross over, and that gives you the hope and the accessibility of knowing you're able to do that, which is the first step. And then I have, people in which I look at for different areas. I love Kevin Hart. I love Dwayne Johnson, what they've been able to do in terms of building their empires and being moguls outside of just the performance and the craft, but actually using their craft to be able to create and build empires. Naturally, I'm very passionate about that, and that's something that I am doing and will be doing for the rest of my career. And so seeing these champions do that gives me the ability and the inspiration to keep on doing that. And then, one of my biggest, I would say, the first kind of encounter was definitely Will Smith for me, watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air growing up and seeing, Will perform on this show and being like, I want to make people feel like that. I want to be, in a place where people look at me and I am able to entertain them with such magnitude. And with my journey going from comedy, I created an online show, which was a comedic show, which ended up then going to television. And that's how I started my career. And starting from comedy and, trading back to what we was talking about earlier, then being able to cross over into drama and knowing that that's a possibility, and that, as long as you perform at that level, you are able to do that. And so seeing Will go from Fresh Prince to then, 6 Degrees, Independence Day, etc., and make that crossover was something that really inspired me, knowing where I wanted to be in my vision for my career.
David, jump in.
Yeah, well, I'm a bit older than you guys, so I think originally I was always very inspired by Spencer Tracy, Robert Mitchum, those old kind of school guys, and then some, Sidney Poitier turn up was, obviously I always remember that scene, the first time seeing that scene in Mr. Tibbs, where he slaps the guy back across the face.
The heat of night.
In the heat of the night.
Oh my God! People screamed. We could not believe that moment. That was a slap I heard around the world.
Found that just so kind of, we all just kind of sat up, and I just always remember being kind of inspired by that kind of moment. And you know, I guess, you know, again, just thinking about moments rather that have inspired me, like Eddie Murphy in 48 Hours when he walks into that bar, when he flashes his cop card in the redneck bar. That was, again, moments like that have always sort of inspired me in characters that have really kind of inspired me.
So Demetrius, how are we doing on time? You can let me know.
It's time to wrap it up. We appreciate everyone.
Very good.
This has been an incredible experience. I've learned a lot, and I want to thank each and every one of our guests. Joivan Wade, David Harewood, Javicia Leslie, Anjelika Washington. We appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy schedule, and keep doing what you're doing, because once again, you are inspiring generations to come. I'm just going to give you a quick little story. I was with Mike Coulter. You guys know who he is from played Luke Cage, right? And I was with Tamak, the Last Dragon. And Mike told me that he wanted to meet him because that was the first movie his mother took him to see when he was a kid. So it's things like this that we don't know about that will inspire our tomorrow. You are the heroes of not only today, but of tomorrow. And it's important that we have you as our reflection. And I'm grateful, and I want to thank you guys for taking this time out to be with us. Thank you, Warrington. Warrington has been supporting our platform from day one. You guys heard day one before. This man has been running with me about 20 years now. So he's been a pioneer when it comes to our voices and our images, and making sure that we are making headway and changing the game, you know, changing the game. But once again, thank you all so much for everything.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Warrington.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.